I am giving them a Puerto Rico or an Andorra. That's quotes from him, all right? And now the American government's attitude under Bush and, as far as I understand, Obama, is a two-state solution. So we're heading towards a collision. And so this is why it becomes important as to where does Rahm Emanuel stand in this thing. Is he really like an American pressure on Israel, or is he Israeli pressure on America? And my attitude is he's both, okay? But given that he comes from this sinister colonial and fascist tradition, okay, we have a right to know what he thinks about that tradition, okay? Because he's none other than the chief of staff of the White House, and the New York Times called him, and this is a quote, the second most important man in America. And they used man and America. I didn't make that up, all right? And never mind Biden. It was the vice president. Yeah, okay.
Everyone's forgotten.
Woo! Yeah, okay. But in other words, what I'm saying is, look, we can argue all day. I submit this as a scholar, okay? Jabotinsky's Iron Wall is the text of Zionism 101. A majority of the present Israeli Knesset, the parliament, 65 guys, come from Zionist revisionist parties. Likud, Netanyahu's party, Kadima, Olmert's party, and this new guy, Avigdor Lieberman, with Yisrael Beitenu. He's an ex-Kadima, ex-Likudist, so they all come from this tradition, okay, and they are all, to one degree or another, they have a clear position on the Iron Wall, but then when it leads off into being with Mussolini, it gets vague and confusing in their minds, and they don't like it, and they're into their own version of Holocaust denial. Get this. In the Warsaw Ghetto, when the revolt took place, okay, all the other groups joined a group called the ZOB, the Jewish Fighting Organization, and they would not let the Zionist revisionists in. You have to fight down the block, because you revisionists have the ideology of Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini, and we don't want to we're dying in the anti-fascist cause. That means you fight them over there, all right? Now, that's hard to believe, but when you realize that it happened, and these guys are now a majority of the Israeli parliament, all these fascists, guys with a fascist background.
Shannon Taylor, let me switch over to you. How do you respond to those allegations? I've read them in Lenni's book. They seem accurate, but like I was saying earlier, the telling of a story often has a lot.
Well, the label fascism is so off the mark, because if it was fascist, you wouldn't see a Muslim left in Israel. Because these are the people who were in the government, unfortunately, for the last many years, and there wouldn't be a Muslim left in Israel. Second of all, these were the people who tolerated 7 years of missiles coming from Gaza before they even responded. And if they were fascists, they would have responded the first day. America, when 9/11 took place, wiped out Afghanistan in a month, and Israel wouldn't have waited. If they were fascists, you wouldn't see any attempt at accommodation with Palestinian autonomy. You wouldn't have seen Oslo. You wouldn't have seen the toleration of suicide bombers. You wouldn't have seen negotiations. Fascists are fascists. Fascists were defined in the present day as they were in the past. And so I don't even have to really deal with fascists. But what I will deal with is a very interesting question posed by the present administration. And they are dealing with the possibility of going to a conference in Africa that at one time it's supposed to deal with racism and of all kinds, and instead it promoted nothing but Jew hatred. And while they're denying they're going to go, they're going to go. And at the same time, they're sending all kinds of feelers out to the Gaza terrorists, and $900 million is proposed by Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration, and this is going to undo all that has been accomplished for the last month. And at the same time, all the people who the administration removed during the campaign who had ties to Gaza terrorists, they've reinstated. And so on, and you know, if this is an administration that is pro-Israel, I have yet to see it. George Mitchell is an Arab American who has always condemned Israel. He has never been impartial with Israel. He has always condemned Israel. There has never been a mark in President Obama's past that deals with Israel that is in any way favorable. So, I say again, I should be, as Lenni says, I would be as hopeful as he. I'd be very, very happy. I don't see it. I don't see Rahm Emanuel or President Obama on the issue of Israel being in any ways with Hillary Clinton ever becoming pro-Israel. I wish it would happen. Stranger things have happened. I'm happy that they're pro-environment. I'll be satisfied with that.
Okay, we have a minute to go, so, and then we're going to be back.
I'll wrap it up.
Yeah,
Okay,
wrap it
here
up.
we go. This is from the supplement to La Idea Zionistica, dedicated to the Bitar Hebrew Maritime School in Civitavecchia in March 1936. They're describing, quote, "Our human material is extremely intelligent. The majority are university students, and 30 of them belong to the Giovanetto Universitaria Fascista, University Fascist Youth." Okay? And then this is their own report on the inauguration. Giovinezza was sung with much enthusiasm by the Bitarian. Some still were awkward with the Italian language. Now, I got to say, Mussolini had the most wonderful operatic party anthem imaginable.
We'll have to continue this. Why don't you take us out and tell people we'll be back in half an hour.
Stay tuned at 8 o'clock.
Stay tuned at 8 o'clock, and we're going to continue this discussion on Let Them Talk. Thank you, Shannon Taylor, Lenni Brenner, Paul DeRienzo, and Joan Moossy.